Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Luclin here, and I want to welcome you guys to this is kind of like a trial. Let's see how this works and how you guys like it. But this is almost going to be like a game design course. I figured, hey, I've been doing this for a long time, and I figured I could share it with the community and let you guys see how to do this. I know there's a lot of you out there that are very interested in game design, so I'm going to do some Unity. This is actually going to be a Unity tutorial on just really the basics of Unity, and we're going to go into terrain and how to sculpt terrain and paint terrain and stuff like that. Now, depending on how this series, how it does, how people like it, depends on if I'm going to go further with it. What I mean by further is bringing in third-party models, modeling models inside of 3D Studio Max, and bringing them into Unity and showing you the pipeline of bringing a model from 3D Max into Unity. And I can even go into depth in 3D Max and create a model, show you how to unwrap the model, UV unwrap the model, and then I can also take it into Photoshop and create textures for it, and so on and so forth. I mean, I could really take this series pretty far. It's all depending on how much you guys want to see something like this. So here's what we're going to do. So basically, I'm going to just show you kind of the layout of Unity. For those of you who don't know what Unity is a game engine, and a lot of video games are starting to be made on the Unity engine. Now, I know how to use the Unity engine. I know how to use the UDK, which is the Unreal Development Kit. I know how to use the Unreal Engine. I know how to use the Quake engine. I know how to use a lot of different game engines. Right now, I am predominantly using the Unity engine because that's what we use to create our games with. And also, if you know about the Roxivia project, that's actually the engine we're using to create Roxivia with. So I just want to show you guys some different things, and maybe you like it, maybe you won't, but just check it out. Maybe you might learn something, and you might want to, go get the engine and check it out. The engine is actually free. You can download the engine for free and make stuff on it all you want. There is a pro version of the engine, and the pro version of the engine just gives you better lighting and gives you the ability to add in stuff with shaders and stuff like that. It makes it look like good water and good lighting and stuff. But right now, if you just want to learn with it, you can go to Unity and you can download it for free. So what I'm going to show you guys, like I said, is the basics. So this is the layout of Unity. You have a game. This is the game view here, so you can actually play inside of it on your keyboard like you're in the game. You have a scene view here, simple as that. You have the hierarchy here, which shows you everything that's inside of your scene. So right now we just have a main camera. Over here is your project file, so everything that you want to use inside of this project can be used from these folders here. Then you have your inspector over here, and your inspector is kind of like the properties of the objects that you put into the scene. So over here we have, let's say, like you want to play your game, you can hit play right here, and it's going to automatically go into the game mode. So we're not playing nothing, so we don't have anything, so we can't play yet. So we're going to go ahead and not play that. So we're going to stay in scene mode. So over here you have these four. You basically have, this is like a pan, so this pans the scene back and forth. This moves objects, selected objects around, this rotates selected objects, and this scales selected objects. You can also use the shortcut keys, which are Q, W, E, and R. So Q will pan, W will move, and then E will rotate, and R will scale. So those are just some simple things that, really easy things to know. So what we're going to do first, we're not going to do anything else. I myself am a designer, so I do level design, I design worlds, I do all kinds of stuff like that. I'm a 3D modeler, I'm a texture artist, lighting artist, I do all that stuff. What I'm going to take you guys through is what I do. Now, if you're interested in programming and stuff like that, yeah, you might not, I mean, you can watch the video, but I'm not going to be doing any programming because I'm not a programmer. That's what my other partners do, is they're the programmers. So what I'm going to show you guys, let's say for instance we want to do some terrain. Okay, so you just go up here to terrain, you can create terrain just like so. Now if you look over here, like I said, the inspector shows you the properties of the terrain, shows you everything that we have here. So at this point we have what we call a terrain script here that lets us manipulate the terrain. So what I mean by that is, like, for instance, if we go over here to raise and lower, so what this does is this raise and lowers the terrain, this sets the height of the terrain, this smooths the terrain out, this paints on the terrain, this lets you paint like trees on the terrain. So it's actually like a paintbrush that lets you paint trees, but the trees are actually 3D models, and they have what they call LODs included in them. And what that is that's called level of detail. So depending on where the camera is, depends on how much detail that model has in it when it gets to a certain distance. So if the camera is real close up on the model, it's a fully, all the polygons are there on the model. It's a high polygon model, and you get to see it up close as a character. But let's say there's a tree way back in the distance, and it's a very low poly. It could even be a billboard, and a billboard is just a flat texture that, you know, kind of, it basically rotates itself to the camera. Wherever the camera's facing, that's where that billboard faces. Then we have over here, you can do plants, stones, and other types of small foliage or fauna inside of the level with this one here. And I'll show you how each of these work. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of manipulate the terrain a little bit. We're going to kind of zoom in a little bit. I'm zooming in with my mouse wheel. So you can zoom in with your mouse wheel like so. And you can actually move with your arrow keys. You can't see that we're moving, but we are moving. You can see it's moving there. I'm moving with my arrow keys right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to manipulate the terrain a little bit. You see that little blue dot that's following my cursor? So we're going to make that bigger. Down here is the brush size and the opacity. And what this means is the brush size is obviously how big that blue mark is. So if we go like this, see the blue mark, how big it is now? And the opacity is the strength on what's going to happen. So here's what's going to happen. So let's say we're going to hold down left click. And if we hold down left click, you can see that we're making a mountain. Now let's say we don't want to make a mountain. Let's say we want to make a crater. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold down shift. You can hold down left shift, and you will make a crater. So as it's going down, actually, did I switch it? I might have switched it. Oh, yeah, it's not. What are you doing? Are you just not strong enough? Ah, see, it's the opacity. So we have to move the opacity up in order to really see a big difference on it. So we do that. There we go. Okay, so this is 0. That's why. We can't go any deeper. I'll now show you why. It's a good thing to show. Okay, so let's go back over here to terrain, and we're going to look at set resolution. Alright, so we have terrain height at 600. So this is how you set resolution. Right now we have a terrain of 2000 by 2000. That's kind of big for a terrain, so we're just going to set the terrain to 512 by 512. We're going to set resolution. So now we have a smaller terrain. So let's go over here so we can work with this. Okay, so let's do this again. So if you look, we're obviously going to go up and keep going up with this, but we can't go below. So you hold down shift, we can take the mountains back down again. But you notice we're not getting the crater. And the reason why we're not getting the crater is this. Watch. So let's go back into terrain and go like this. What we want to do is we're going to go to flatten height map, and we're going to set the height here. So let's say we want to set the height at 60. So what it's going to do is, watch what it does with the terrain. The terrain's going to pop up. So once the terrain pops up like that, now if you hold down shift, watch what happens. Now we have a crater. So there's our crater down there, and it's going down to 60. So that's where we have that set at. So now we can go inside of it. Let's go down in here. So you can see that we are now going inside of the crater, just like so. And now if we want to do the mountain again, we can just do the mountain like this. You don't have to hold anything. You just hold down your left mouse button, and then there's your mountain. So now, with that being said, we have now set the terrain height to 60. So let's say we come over here, and this right here is called set terrain height. So as a brush, it sets the terrain height as a brush. So if you look over here, we have brush size, opacity, and now we have height. So right now the height is set to 24. So let's go ahead and let's see what happens when we hold down left click. So what it's doing is it's going to the height of 24. Remember, this is set at 60 all the way up here. So that's 60. This is going down to 24. So at this point, we want to go over 60. So we want to say, okay, let's set the height to 90. So watch what happens when I set it to 90. If I set it to 90, now it's going to go up and it's going to set just to 90. So let's say you want to kind of create, I don't know, make it look like a canyon crater. You got like a gigantic canyon around it. You have the rock walls around it like so. We'll just kind of put that right there. So now let's go over by it, and you can see, let's go this way. See how we have it dug out there? Okay, now that's going to bring me to the next point. So remember, this sets your height. So if you want your terrain at a certain height, let's say you set your height already to begin with in the terrain properties, and because you want to have some, different canyons and stuff like that, but then at the same time, let's say you want to do some mountains that are only 100 high. You just set your terrain height on your brush to 100 high, and it'll paint to 100 high. Same with now you gotta remember, now if you set your terrain in the properties to 100 high, that means you can go 100 below. So you can have deeper craters or deeper like ravines and stuff like that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, you see the hard edges? I'm gonna show you the next brush. The next brush is a smooth brush. So you grab this smooth brush, and right now we have our opacity set at 58. So that's a pretty harsh opacity. So watch, it's a harsh strength. So when we move it, you'll see that, see how it's making the nice smooth lines. Now you could even go back and you could say like this, and let's say you really want to fine tune it, you can just come in and just do some of these. You can smooth out hills, or you can get really crazy with it and put it all the way up, and then you can start smoothing even more. So it just really smooths out your terrain and makes it look good. Just all around makes it look good. So it's just putting a smooth on it, so as you can see. Let's go over here so you can see it better. Okay, so there you go. And that's what it looks like. Just smooths the terrain out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to paint this. Give you an idea of what it looks like painted. So now we'll pull back, and we're going to pick this one here, which is basically a paintbrush. So we're going to add a texture to this. Now here's how it works. Textures work in layers. So you have your first layer, second layer, third layer, fourth layer. So your first layer is the texture that's going to be on the whole entire terrain, and then every other texture on top of that will paint on top of your base texture. So we're going to get a base texture. We're going to say, okay, usually for a base texture you want kind of like maybe like rocks or dirt or something like that. So what we're going to do is you're going to click the splat, the little button right there, and we are going to, let me pull this over so we can see all this. There we go. We are going to pick, what do we want? We want some type of dirt. Okay, right here. So we're going to pick rocky dirt. So this is going to become our base layer. As soon as I hit add, it'll become our base layer. But what we're going to do first is explain this, the tile set X and the tile set Y. Basically what these do is this tiles the texture. So I'm going to show you what it does. So we're going to hit add. Now you see the dirt's been applied. So let's go on in here and you can see actually like the detail of the dirt right here. So you can actually see the rocks. See the rocks there? Okay, now we're going to make that a little bigger. So we're going to go back to edit texture here, and we're going to pump this up to 25. So we'll do both of them at 25, just like so. You see that? Now the texture has gotten bigger by setting it at 25. Pretty easy stuff. So now what we're going to do is we're going to leave it at 25, and we're going to add a new texture. So we're just going to hit apply, and we're going to go edit, add texture. So now this time we're going to grab like a grassy texture. So let's see, let's grab this one. That's a good one. Go in here. Now a lot of these are included with it, but I have a lot of my own textures in here. So we're going to make sure you pick the grass texture, and we want to come over here to this hillside and right about here. So let's make our brush smaller. Take the brush size down because we want to get kind of good with this. We want to take the opacity down because we want it to blend. By putting the opacity down, we get it to blend. So you see how we're putting the grass in there now, like so. Just kind of painting the grass, and you can even bring the opacity down more, and you can blend it even. See how it's blending? How that blend comes in right there? It looks a lot better when you're in the game. And like I said before, what I'll do is if this gets enough, you know, if people really like this, what I'll do is I will create smaller tutorials that show you, you know, how to go in here and fine-tune the textures and make the textures look really good. And then show you how to put in cameras and third-person and first-person cameras, just like a game. So I will be doing that if you guys want to see that. Okay, so we got this, and I've showed you how to paint this. So we've learned how to paint on a terrain. We've learned how to make a terrain. We've learned how to manipulate the terrain and all that good stuff. It's pretty easy. Okay, now what I'm going to show you how to do is we're going to plant trees. So you come over here to the trees, and right now we're going to go to edit trees. We're going to add a tree. So it's going to bring up a, we want to bring this down here, okay, because everything's off screen right now, but we want to add a tree. So let's go ahead and we're going to add, where's a good tree at? I have a tree in here somewhere. There's some pine trees, sycamore. I want the big tree. Where's the big tree? Bush, blob, bamboo, big tree, right there. Okay, so now we have the big tree picked right here, and we're just going to hit add. We don't want to worry about anything else right now. Now if you notice how big the brush is, we don't want the brush that big. We have a lot of different settings here, and I'll explain all of them to you. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hit left click, and we're going to plant some trees. So as of right now, you can see how dense the trees came in. So if we coming down in here, you can see, okay, now at this point, now we know the size of this terrain. So what we're going to do is we're going to take down our textures, because our textures are too big and they don't make sense that size. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to go edit textures once again, and we're going to take this from 25, I'm probably going to take it down to 10. See where 10 gets us, what it looks like. So let's see what 10 looks like first of all. I need to take this brush size down. Take the the brush size down. There we go, so we can see. Okay, we need to take it down more. So let's do this. And it's all about fine-tuning and what you're going to do. Let's see. We'll do 5 and 5. Okay, it doesn't look that bad. Same with, let's do it with this one here. And we're going to edit this one, and we're going to take this one down just for now to 5 and 5. See where that takes us. Okay, so we'll just bring it down like that. So now it looks a little better scale size if you're walking around as a character. Okay, so that's the first thing that we're going to do. So let me show you what the settings are on the brush. So if we go back to the trees, we have our tree picked. So we see how big the brush is. Let's make the brush size smaller. So there's our brush size now. So we have tree density. Basically, this is what gives us now, we don't have a big brush anymore, so it's not going to paint all together at one. So if we pull this out again and we have a big brush, we have to actually, we'll go over here and do it so you can see better. Let me zoom out. There we go. So let's say we want to put trees down right here. So let's just plant trees. Okay, so you see how the trees come out like that. Now if you hold down shift and then click it again, you can erase them all. So if you hold down shift and click, you can erase them all. If you don't hold down shift and you click, you can plant trees. So let's do that. Let's do this here, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and change the density. So let's take the density down like this, but leave it at 42. See how the density is a lot different? So let's pull the density back up and do it again. See how the density is different? So that just kind of gives you more trees or less trees depending on. Now you remember I told you about the, let's go down here. So you can also do color variation of trees. You can also do tree height variation. So let's say we do tree height variation. Let's just do this and then let's do it again. So you see we have taller trees now. If you do tree width, we can get wider trees. So see now we have a taller and wider tree right there. So it's just different things that you can do with the trees. Also, so let's go down in here and you can see the difference in the trees. Now the other thing I want to show you is, remember I told you about let's talk about the LODs. The LODs are what we call a level of detail on an object. So from back here, these are probably billboards. These are probably textures at this point, but the closer we get to them, you'll see them pop in. And there they go. See how they popped in right there and they grew? See, they went from a billboard, which is a 2D texture, to a 3D model. That's called an LOD. I'm going to add a light in here so we can see. So let's add a light in real fast. If you want to add a light in, pretty easy. Just go to Game Object. We want to go to, hold on. Yeah, we want to go to Create Other, and then we want to go to Directional Light. That's going to add like a sunlight in. So we're going to pull that up just for now so we can see things. Now, if you look, you can see the LODs working really good now. And that's basically it. That's how that works by planting trees. Next thing we're going to look at is and you got to click on the terrain in order to activate this. So remember, anything you want to do with the terrain, if it's planting grass, if it's putting on trees, or if it's planting, painting the terrain, you have to make sure the terrain's selected. So we're going to come over here and we're going to do the same thing. It's just like the trees. So we're going to add a grass texture. So same thing, pull this over here, and we're going to say grass texture. We'll just use something simple like this. Okay, so we come over here. Now, you're going to see something with the grass that's interesting. So when we go to paint the grass on, let's go to our brush size because it's at 1. So let's do 26. So you see how we're putting grass in right now? And you see how dense the grass is? So that's the density of the grass right there. But what we want to do is we want to make this grass not so dense. So once again, you take the opacity down, like so, and then you can put the grass in. Like this is really, there we go. See, we're getting a less grass that we put in like that. So you can kind of paint it different. Now, one thing you're looking at is you look at the grass and you're like, gosh, that grass is really bright. We can fix that. Just go to Edit Details, go to Edit, and then come over here and you want to make this 50% gray, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So usually what I do is I probably just pick this color right here, and we can take this color here, or we can pick a lighter gray, which probably is the gray in the grass right there, like the gray in the lettering. If we pick, nope, we want the lighter gray. Give me the lighter one right there. That's the one we want. So we just use that one on there, and then you can see that now the grass has a better color to it, and it's not neon looking. So yeah, so that's how you do it. You do this with rocks, you do this with other plants and stuff like that. But yeah, there you go. This is the basics of Unity and creating terrain and just the kind of basic controls of Unity. So if you guys like this and you want to see more of this, please let me know in the comments, and I will be happy to do small tutorials on the Unity engine and 3D Studio Max, and even some Photoshop tutorials on how to create textures and stuff like that. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoy this. I'll talk to you later. Bye.